Hi there, it's Brian, and today is I have too much shirt here. Today is one of those days where people about my age, or actually people my age and people older than me. I look older than me today. I didn't sleep at all. Well, I did. I slept a little bit. But I'm due for a nap here in a moment. But I had to post because when Generation Xers or people of the MTV generation, I'm 48, when we speak of the first national tragedy, that first day when we all remembered where we were when we heard the news, oftentimes the Space Shuttle Challenger is mentioned as that day. That was, of course, January 28th. I believe 1986. I know 1986, January 28th. And on the radio over the years, and just in life over the years, I would always say that what I truly do remember first is the assassination attempt on a brand new American president, Ronald Reagan, our 40th American president. That was 40 years ago today. On March 30th, 1981, which I happen to remember was a Monday. Somebody will Google that. I'm quite certain that was a Monday. I was in the third grade, and I was upstairs in my bedroom on Wheeling Avenue on Staten Island at a desk that Santa Claus brought me to do my homework on. And I guess it was after 3 o'clock in the afternoon by the time, word began. I forget what time the bulletins broke out, but we'll more on that in a moment. But I heard my father. My mom was downstairs watching television, I'm quite certain, General Hospital on Channel 7, because it was Frank Reynolds and Peter Jennings. But first, Frank Reynolds, the ABC News anchor that was on our television. My mother was a Channel 7 soap opera watcher. All my Ryan's Hope, all my children, One Life to Live, General Hospital, and a 30-minute soap opera at 4 o'clock called Edge of Night. She wasn't so into that one. She was like at the edge of wanting to have dinner, I guess. So we didn't often see that. But I was upstairs. And my bedroom was right off the top of the staircase, and I heard my father come into the house. And my father and mother were Reagan voters. My father was a more reliably Republican voter. My mother was not. But my mother, and I don't know that my mother was a Democrat either. She's just a darn good person. So was my dad, of course. And this was like I said, a brand new President Reagan. He'd only been in office for 2 months. After the Reagan Revolution, an utter landslide in November of the previous year, 1980, I heard at 8 years old my angry and concerned father come into the house, walk toward my mom in the TV room, the family room, and say, some tried to shoot the president. And I, what? Huh? Why? Do I have to go to the studio? And then a voice said, Brian, you're 8. You're 8. Have a Twinkie. No, I must get with Larry Marino. Brian, you don't matter. What? So I immediately ran downstairs. I'm smiling. I mean, it's a tragic event. God bless James Brady, this press secretary. He was paralyzed for life. He died several years ago. Became a strong advocate for gun control. So let's look at this video, raw video. Now, this is not going to hear any network anchor. You're not going to hear somebody saying, "Oh, yes, that's President Reagan coming out of the Washington Hilton," by the way, where the president was in a brand new suit. Well, I had never worn that suit before. It was brand new. So Ronald Reagan, who did say that, the late, great President Reagan, said he thought it was firecrackers. And he came out on that Monday afternoon, and this is what happened. It's nothing, it's about a minute of it, but then I want to focus in on a hero. Take a look. Wow. That video, and shown over and over again that afternoon, 40 years ago today. The networks staying on, of course, the coverage, because we come to learn much later that President Ronald Reagan had been shot, and he was fighting for life. I mean, he was much closer to passing, being killed, murdered, than we were. Not than we were told, because the news media was not told and withheld information. It's just that the information did not come from the hospital. It did not come from the administration. Alexander Haig at the White House misquoted the U.S. Constitution and said he's in charge. Not true. Ask George H.W. Bush. I'm on a plane flying back from Texas. I got to do that. Here's something great about George H.W. Bush. When I first went to Washington, D.C. many years ago, the first place I went, because of my age, was to the Washington Hilton, and saw that, as you saw in the video, that stone wall in the backdrop there. George H.W. Bush, a brand new vice president who had run against, in a fairly bitter primary in 1980, a fellow Republican, and soon-to-be President Ronald Reagan. George H.W. Bush was going to be on the helicopter, landed on the White House lawn. And George H.W. Bush, then our vice president, a classier man I don't know that anyone can identify, said he wouldn't, not gonna do it. Hat tip to Dana Carvey, not gonna do it. Wouldn't do it. Didn't want to give that impression, and did not want to give the impression to the people that President Reagan was so severely ill. I don't know if George H.W. Bush knew. I interviewed at KBC many years ago. Showtime had a movie, an original Showtime movie, done by a filmmaker named Cyrus Narasta, who just coincidentally, in the autumn, in my final months at KRLA with Jennifer, we were interviewing this guy, Cyrus Narasta, and I remembered about 15 seconds into the interview, I said, Cyrus, I know you. He's working on some other project, but he did a great movie, which I recommend, a TV movie, a made-for-TV movie. Richard Crenna, the late Richard Crenna, plays President Reagan, and First Lady Nancy Reagan is played by a wonderful actress. Oh my goodness! And she plays Charlie Sheen's mom on 2.5 Men. What is her name? Oh my goodness! Oh, I can't believe it! I've done it my whole life. And Richard Crenna called in, and the filmmaker talks about how important it was once President Reagan got into the limousine, and he was thrown in there by Jerry Parr, the Secret Service agent, and the agent noticed a froth, some blood coming from the lips of President Reagan. And President Reagan reportedly said to Jerry, you threw me in the car. I think you broke my ribs, because there was blood, and the limousine was redirected to George Washington Medical Center. And the ICU there, named after President Reagan. President Reagan insisted on walking in. I do have some of this information. I know most people have this information. President Reagan insisted on walking in from the limousine into the ER. 2 months into his presidency, word gets out, not as quickly as it would today, of course, but some have gathered at the emergency room. Some in the emergency room don't know that President Reagan is about to come through the door. The door is open, and Ronald Reagan, flanked by Secret Service, of course, and law enforcement, and probably some very key staff, as Nancy Reagan is being hustled over to the hospital, getting what can only be horrifying news for any wife, for any partner, for any spouse. President Reagan walks in. This scene is done very, very dramatically. How could it not be? It's so dramatic. He walks in and insists that he walks in. He wants the people to see him walk in, that he is strong, that the office is secure, and gets in and clears the outside, and then does collapse. And his the reason I know is that he had that new suit. They cut it off of the late President Reagan, and he was in surgery for a very, very long time. And the media was on the air openly saying, and as well they should have, we don't know, we're not hearing anything. Now, we promise a hero, because Tim McCarthy is one of the people who was shot. President Reagan was shot. James Brady, the aforementioned press secretary, was shot. And Thomas Delahanty, a D.C. police officer, was shot. All of them lived. James Brady's life was forever changed. His death, so many years later, I'm sure had something to do with the fact that he was, I don't know that, he was in a wheelchair, he was paralyzed, his life was never the same. Watch here, I put it in slow motion because it's so interesting to see. You'll see here, the very beginning, I don't even know if you see you do see President Reagan if you watch closely. You'll see Mike Deaver, the man with the bald head, and off to the left here, excuse me, a little congested, you'll see a man in a blue suit. It's like as blue as this shirt, and it's a different, darker blue. And he's a young man. That is Tim McCarthy. He is the Secret Service agent. And for folks who maybe are younger than I am, I'm a Secret Service kind of geek. I slowed it down because when this starts here, you'll see McCarthy, you'll see his back. His back is to the camera that happened to be shooting this moment. And you'll hear the audio is slowed down as well. And you'll see McCarthy, his back, he turns and looks forward at the camera. And then what is textbook Secret Service training, Agent Tim McCarthy broadens out his body like so, to make him a human shield. And he does take a bullet for President Ronald Reagan, and down he goes. I saw a very emotional interview so many years later on Larry King with former First Lady Nancy Reagan and Mr. McCarthy, and it was quite emotional. Here's a hero doing his thing. I gave it to you 2 times there so you could see. Incredible, right? And I mean, it was only 1980. 81. It was this day 40 years ago. I mean, the media should have had better audio recording. And I do think it has something to do with all of these, all of this Adderall people take, how fast we all move today. I mean, you see how graceful they were then? I mean, they were almost lethargic. Okay, and now for the media lesson of the day. Frank Reynolds, an anchor for ABC News. I was watching this with my mom after my dad came in and said, some old tried to shoot the president, or kill the president, or he tried to kill the president, my father said. And Frank Reynolds, who was getting information that James Brady had passed away, that he had died, there at George Washington Hospital in Washington, D.C. And then, of course, I remember they took a break and flashed up a picture of James Brady with the dates, as if, to pay tribute to him and memorialize his life and death. And then it was retracted because, as even today, and I've seen maybe you've heard me say on the radio many times that when live news is developing, when things like this are happening, information does change, and even today, with information traveling at the speed of light, sometimes wrong or incomplete information, and this is a bad thing, can travel quicker than information, good or bad, ever traveled before. So I was watching this, Frank Reynolds, the ultimate quote from a frustrated newsman who said, "I don't apologize." And he was angry at himself, he said, because he should have corroborated this piece of information 40 years ago today.
It's true, but we did have reports from the hospital earlier and from the White House that he had passed away. We know that he was in very critical condition. Let's get it nailed down, somebody. Let's find out. I don't apologize for my display of anger.
So there you have it, like fake news. I mean, totally fake news. It's so bad. It is so bad. Like CNN and all these people. I think CNN was brand new. They were probably so bad. Probably had Bernie Shaw say that, like, Donald Trump was like John Hinckley. So bad. Like Trump loved Jodie Foster. Frank Reynolds, a major stud, a major news stud. A good, Tom Brokaw said, Frank Reynolds, not the kind of guy you're pushed around. And everybody calling him a great reporter. He passed away, I believe, far too young, but what a moment. You have to remember then, I mean, I think perhaps CNN was in its infancy. Or maybe not even. It was before MTV, I can tell you that. 3 networks. And they interrupt my mother's, Luke and Laura are on the run. And my mom's, oh, sure, Luke and Laura. Oh, God. Can we get it right? Nail it down. What a blow heart. No, actually, my mother loved that. My mother, I've said this, had great respect for media people. Not me, but I'm kidding. Obvious joke for 500. All right, today, 40 years ago. 40 years ago. So all you Gen Xers, when you say that the first thing you remember was the Challenger disaster, it might be the Reagan assassination. Or for me, actually, it's my 5th birthday, which was the day after Elvis Presley died. Would somebody can we get it nailed down? Can we get it right? How about that sound, that grunt? News stud, Frank Reynolds, rest in peace.